Hello everyone and welcome to our first webinar for 2019. We are very happy to be back and start the webinar series for this year with a topic that draws a lot of attention, and it's crucial for all financial institutions, such as marketing the financial services to entrepreneurs effectively and affordably. We're very happy to have here today Fiona Bloxham, a marketing expert that will lead this session. Fiona is a marketing specialist with over 25 years of experience in market research, of which 16 were in banking. Her experience includes marketing strategy, implementation, segmentation, products and channels, branding and communication in different countries such as South Africa, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Kenya, and Namibia. She has been working for institutions including former TIBA Bank, UBank now, Standard Bank, National Bank of Moldova, and other different financial institutions. And she's currently a consultant with Risk Frontier Consulting in the UK. So we welcome Fiona as the lead for this webinar, and we're very happy to have her here today. Fiona, if you can just take out the next slide. Okay. Just wanted to tell everyone about our upcoming webinars. We have a full series of webinars that we have dates, so please, if you feel that any of these topics are of interest to your institution, you have the schedule here, and we're very excited for all these upcoming series. So Fiona, the next slide. I'll leave it up to Fiona now to take the lead on this.
Hello, and thank you for attending. I'll be sharing insights with you on some classic tried and tested marketing practices which are used for building strong brands. Marketing can be both effective and affordable, but it requires careful thought and planning to leverage synergies between all your marketing efforts. The marketing strategy provides an overall framework for effective brand building. We'll look at 5 key elements of the marketing strategy in this webinar. Firstly, the target market is a critical aspect of effective marketing. Marketing people can really add value to their companies by championing the customer, by knowing target market needs, size, segments, usage of one's own and competitive brands, and changes to the market that offer new opportunities or the need to adapt present offerings. Secondly, from an understanding focus on value propositions for the customer. Once you have a robust understanding of your target market and a competitive product offering, marketing can really come into play with the building and promotion of a clear, distinct brand that appeals to the target market and is preferred to competitor brands. Promotion of the brand can be done affordably through the integrated use of cost-effective communication methods that consistently and regularly drive home a simple set of messages. Simplicity and regularity of communication creates a very clear brand identity. Digital marketing has revolutionized the field of communicating with customers as it's very cost effective, and we'll also look at its use in a bit more detail. Lastly, technology is driving fast-paced change in the financial services world with innovative products and channels that customers need to learn how to use. Marketing expertise can play a valuable role in ensuring that customers become aware of, realize the benefits of, and understand how to use new services that your company introduces. So understanding your market is an essential element of good marketing. Without knowledge of the target market, a company may or may not attract and retain customers or be able to adequately grow new products or channel offerings. A good example of this is when a company decides to diversify to a new country. While some example of business-to-business marketing, M-Pesa's expansion from Kenya to other countries shows how transferring a product to a new market may not replicate the success seen in the original market. M-Pesa, of course, is highly successful in the originating country, Kenya, and operates successfully in other markets in Africa, but as well as Asia and Eastern Europe. But in South Africa, M-Pesa didn't reach its goal of critical mass. It launched in 2010 and closed its South Africa operations in 2016. It had achieved only 76,000 active users in South Africa compared to about 15 million active users in Kenya. The lack of success of the product has been attributed to some key differences in the two markets. In South Africa, the number of banked individuals was significant, driven by a need for bank accounts for government grants, such as pensions, as well as employer requirements for bank accounts to pay employee salaries. Also, a number of simple, affordable banking products were on offer in the country, with an accompanying high distribution of ATMs. The importance of trust in familiar brands with wide distribution across the country was also underestimated by M-Pesa. In Kenya, by contrast, a number of factors ensured its success. The population, a high proportion of the population was on bank. There was a culture of remittances, a regularity, openness, a low cost of use, and a dominant telecommunications company were all beneficial factors at the time of the launch. So, how can a company go about understanding a market and its needs? We'll go through an example of market analysis and segmentation in a minute, but here are some high-level guidelines to use as a framework. Define your market as thoroughly as possible. Ideally, canvass a cross-section of your company for their input and supplement this by an analysis of the customer database, by desk research, and interviews with key players in the market, such as analysts or industry associations. Then segment your market to identify smaller groupings, such as geographical location or usage levels. This is an exercise that can be workshopped within the company, possibly including one or two outside experts on your markets. Segmentation can be carried out for different purposes, such as assessing opportunities in the market, understanding different subsets of needs, prioritizing customer groupings for retention, for instance, on the basis of profitability, or identifying cross-sell strategies, or establishing the most effective ways to communicate with customers. Then research your segments once they are chosen to establish their characteristics, needs, competitive usage, and to size the opportunity. So I think we're now over to Alki.
Thank you, Fiona. We're going to have a quick poll for everyone that is attending, just to see where your financial institution stands. So the quick poll has a question, and you please select one of the answers that apply to your financial institution. So does your company tailor products, services, pricing, sales, or communication to any of the following business segment criteria? So please select all those that apply. We have turnover, company size, profitability as the first choice, geographic area, industry, women-owned startup business, or any others. We're going to keep the polls open for around 30 to 40 seconds until we get all your votes in. And then I am going to discuss with Fiona the results of the polls. So as your votes are coming in, we're going to be closing the polls in another 10 seconds. So we'll have the results very soon. And this is just the first poll for the day. We're going to be closing the polls now. And we have a pretty mixed results, Fiona. 58% said turnover, company size, profitability. 46% geographical area. We have 38% for industry and 38% for women-owned startup business and 27% for others. So it's a pretty mixed and diverse tailoring of products and services pricing. So I'll leave it up to you if you have anything to add to this mix of results that we got from our attendees.
Yes, no, it's not surprising that turnover and profitability in company size is the highest, because that is the most frequently used type of segmentation in business banking. Geography as well, that's quite interesting, that's nearly half. Industry, that can be a useful type of segment in business marketing, because industries can be very different in terms of their financial needs. Women or startup businesses, yes, it is fairly niched. And then that should be interesting to know what it is. And of course, there's all kinds of segmenting that one can do. So that's an interesting result. Thank you very much for participating. So now we will move on. And what we're actually going to look at in the webinar itself, although there are more examples of SME segmentation in the full presentation that will be made available to you. But here we're going to focus on women entrepreneurs as a segment. And this slide really just shows a little bit of research on the opportunities available in the segment. The women's business market is, of course, part of a wider opportunity for financial service providers. For instance, the 2016 and 17 report on women entrepreneurs by the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which was conducted in 74 countries, found a massive 163 million women owned a new business, joining a further 111 million more established businesses. But despite the opportunities in this sector, research indicates that a gap exists for growth in the provision of financial services specifically suited to women-owned businesses. Research on financial services companies using gender segmentation in the developing world have shown positive results when addressing product, channel, service, or communication designs tailored to the needs and characteristics of women, including women entrepreneurs. So let's have a look now at a value proposition for women-owned SMEs. Guarantee Bank provides a really good example of this. Guarantee is a large Turkish bank with a long-established presence in the Turkish SME sector overall. Their success generally is due to a relevant value proposition comprising convenient, relevant products and a dedicated in-branch relationship manager channel. The value proposition includes relationship managers dealing with both personal and business accounts for SMEs, which actually is a very popular offering. Turnaround of new customer solutions is fast and based on regular market research, feedback from relationship managers, and close relations with SMEs. Women SMEs were identified as a potential segment in 2006. The segment was defined and research was conducted to provide a compelling value proposition for the women SME sector. And we have a look at what their proposition is. It comprises 3 pillars. Pillar 1 addressed financial product needs amongst this women's SME sector. Specific products were packaged for the segment in addition to normal SME products. This was based on the research. These included savings and insurance products which had high appeal to the segment. Pillar 2 addressed business education. Here, Guarantee identified an opportunity to combine the appeal of networking and business-based information and education needs of this segment. And they offered the following: one-day networking and training events, lectures on marketing, finance, and business in a changing world, and introductions to local role models, as well as a partnering with a Turkish university to hold mini MBAs. Pillar 3 focused on encouragement through role models through the setting up of an annual Women Entrepreneur of the Year competition, which provides awards in various categories. 12 years later, we look at the outcome of this. Guarantee is a dominant player in the women's SME segment in Turkey. The training and networking events, courses, and competition are still held and are very popular. The segment has been profitable and characterized by high cross-sales. Women entrepreneurs prefer a main banker from whom other financial service products are purchased when necessary. So if we have a look now, how can you effectively and affordably research a value proposition? Well, first of all, start off by getting close to your own customers. One bank, instead of conducting expensive quantitative surveys, directs its staff to connect with customers about their pain points on a regular basis. Then conduct data analysis, not only of this qualitative input, but also from your database. And there is software that can be found affordably, segmentation software on even open platforms, as well as Excel, in fact, although if you've got a large customer base, that's tricky. Then conduct competitor analysis, understand their value propositions and why customers are choosing them. If you have no in-house market research specialists, maybe consider a hybrid approach for affordability. So in-house could maybe implement field work and data computing, whilst possibly an outside expert on financial services could help with design and conclusions. Engage with customers in the design and piloting of new features or offerings, and look for innovative ways to gather information affordably. For instance, InnoSites, in assisting completely new markets for startup businesses, used experimental piloting instead of more expensive quantitative research. They used mobile channels in various areas of Bangalore, such as a truck at the retail outlet, to identify areas with the highest demand and levels of traffic. And then lastly, as an ongoing, engage with your market on an ongoing basis. Once a solid value proposition is in place, it's much easier to build the brand. But what is a strong brand? A strong brand is perceived as differentiated and standing for something with which the customer identifies and engages. Strong brand rankings are produced by various, or rather research by various market research and brand consultancies. Kantar's brand model measures brands on 3 attributes: meaningfulness, differentiation, and salience, the latter meaning highly visible or noticeable. Recent research that they conducted indicates that all 3 attributes need to be strong for a brand to achieve exceptional strength. So here we're looking on the left at some of Interbrand's findings for global financial brands. Note that differentiation is very difficult to achieve in the financial services sector, even among top brands. The dimensions that do play a role are relevance and responsiveness, presence, commitment, consistency, and clarity. In emerging economies, which we see some brands there on the right, where needs are largely unmet, the strongest value proposition for a brand is associated with affordability and accessibility. Examples are of course on the right, and we also see their logos and their taglines. But all of them, if you look at them, have addressed accessibility in their value propositions as a hygiene factor. So the logo is the visual summary of the brand, and the brand promise, which links to the value proposition, can be summarized in the tagline or byline. So for instance, on equity, you've got your listening, caring partner. CapTech, Bank Better, Live Better. M-Pesa, at the time of the launch, its tagline was "Send money home," and Visa, everywhere you want to be. But a tagline isn't essential to build a strong brand, although it helps to summarize the essence of the brand promise. What's more important is to deliver on the value proposition, to ensure internal understanding and commitment to living the brand promise among employees and leaders, and to build brand visibility. So how do you do this? Start by articulating the brand promise. And here are some pointers. Establish what your brand stands for among employees and customers, as well as its strengths and weaknesses. Look at both functional positioning, which is essentially the value proposition, but also emotional positioning, which is the brand's personality. Gather similar information about competitor brands. Focus on downplaying or addressing brand weaknesses whilst building on brand strengths. This provides a more realistic brand promise that the customer actually largely experiences when interacting with your brand. Involve your staff right from the beginning in the brand differentiation journey. They have invaluable insights and need to be involved to deliver on the brand promise. Ensure brand consistency through all touch points, staff, website, branches, stationery, and so forth. And lastly, embed brand consistency through staff training, inductions, reminders, and even by monitoring of performance. Here we're going to look at an example of achieving brand differentiation, a strong brand. We'll have a look at Kenya-based Equity Bank, which grew from humble beginnings to become one of the largest banks in Kenya, and with an expanding presence in East Africa. It provides business and consumer banking, and its journey is described in the following 6 rectangles. Equity Bank's purpose is a very strong foundation for the brand because it inspires staff. Its purpose is to transform lives and livelihoods. Secondly, it uses a customer-focused approach to segment markets and to design innovative value propositions through market research, ongoing engagement with customers, and technology-based solutions. But thirdly, it's never forgotten its original market segment, which was the micro and small and medium enterprises. So it's kept that original strategy of close, on-the-ground relations with the sector as a brand strength. Fourthly, Equity has a strong commitment to customer service, ensured through mystery shopping, satisfaction surveys, and focus group discussions. But in terms of brand visibility, over time, the brand became trusted and grew actually by word-of-mouth referrals. Branches engaged strongly not only with the SME sector, but with local communities and with business activities. And then lastly, but not least at all, is PR. PR continues with Equity to play a dominant role in their communication mix. And that's really aimed at the corporate sector, donors, maybe not so much donors anymore, but investors, international and local opinion leaders. Thought leadership has been built over years by Equity and is now being leveraged. If we have a look more closely now at communication as a means to build brand visibility, communicating about your brand or products doesn't need to be very expensive to get the message across. For instance, Lead Foundation in Egypt identified women as a specific segment. Marketing material showing their loan product for women entrepreneurs was produced. For example, this poster. The message is shown visually, a vivid way of telling women that the bank is expressly interested in welcoming them as customers. The messaging was reinforced by staff at all touch points. Targeted communication resulted in loans to women doubling in a 6-month period. And here are some general principles to apply for effective communications. Firstly, it needs to be regular, can't be one-off, to consistently remind the target audience of your existence An annual communication plan is useful in this regard to ensure that activities and a budget can be allocated over a period of time. Goals and the means for measuring the impact of activity is an intrinsic part of the plan and campaign plans as well. Examples being number of leads generated or growth in sales. Communication campaigns clearly specify the target market audience and the communication objectives. In other words, what precisely are you trying to communicate? Don't forget the target audiences also need to include internal employee audiences to ensure alignment of staff to the campaigns. A target audience communication profile based on known characteristics of the audience should be incorporated. It includes things such as literacy levels, home language, financial literacy levels, and general cultural background. Crafting messages with focus groups or testing marketing material with focus groups will assist in creating appealing, impactful marketing campaign material. The communication profile also assists with selecting appropriate types of communication methods and channel selection by knowing where your audiences source information. So we'll look at that just now. The message conveys the value proposition, both informational and emotional, and follow-up details or calls to action for the audiences, such as contact details. So if we have a look at an example, this is advertising aimed at women entrepreneurs, and it is a company called Possession. It's Kenya-based, and what it does is it links individual lenders to entrepreneurs. Loans are sent to mobile phones once the borrower has received Possession's financial education and attained a credit score. Possession is particularly focused on women entrepreneurs as a segment. They primarily use a field worker force to promote the brand and its offering, and visual advertising is a supplementary channel. Their ads are designed to promote access to loans among informal entrepreneurs. The marketing material aids brand building and reinforces their field workers' messages. The target audience is shown clearly through these visuals on these posters here. The images of women are very large in proportion to the overall page, which creates a strong visual. In the left-hand advert, the main message appeals to the aspiration of climbing the ladder or achieving success. The brand is linked to this aspiration, and the steps needed are communicated as being simple and easy with Possession. The advert on the right communicates to a sub-segment of the target audience, those who are digitally unconnected. To cater for a large population without a smartphone, Possession has both Android and SMS apps. This slide, which is quite a busy slide, outlines various channels commonly used in B2B marketing, and we're just going to highlight a couple of them in the interest of time. Firstly, relationship marketing is the traditional channel for business banking client engagement, often taking the form of an outbound sales force. The function may or may not fall under marketing, and if they're separate, marketing needs to engage. Usually their role is to engage with a wider market or audience to gain insights and to ensure interest in the company and its products. The sales and relationship managers then follow up on a client level. It's very important for the marketing department to engage regularly with sales for insights, for direction, and for ensuring alignment of campaign messaging. Digital marketing further down, right at the bottom there, includes forms such as direct marketing, email and SMS texting and so forth. But it's, excuse me, it can be very, very effective to use digital channels because they are cost effective. However, it's important to specify the objective for using a particular digital channel and what audiences are being targeted. Understanding that audience's use and needs of digital channels and for what purposes is a good starting place. For instance, if we look at website marketing, if the website is used for online banking, it can be a good channel in combination with others for creating interest in cross-sales, for communicating promotions, and for deepening engagement with clients, such as facilitating feedback, routing to a call center, or a customer chat line. If the website is viewed as a potential means to generate leads, search engine optimization and content management are key ingredients for success. There you identify niche content topics, such as an area of expertise or special interest that aligns both to your target audience's interests and to your bank's strategy. Identify key words or phrases used by your audience when searching for financial products, topics, or institutions, and ensure these are in the web page content and metadata. Google, of course, is the dominant search engine in most markets and provides guidelines and other information on SEO. Consider the resources, though, for optimal website marketing, which can include frequent updating of material, a variety of media such as videos and podcasts, etc., also ensuring suitability for mobile and desktop devices. Then there are technical aspects, for instance, links and share facilities, customer data security aspects, which also eat up resources, as well as analyzing your audience reactions. And here we again go over to LP.
Thank you, Fiona. We have our second poll for today for everyone. Does your company have a digital marketing strategy? If so, do you find it worthwhile? So please select one of the four options. Yes, we do have a strategy and we find it worthwhile. Yes, we do have a strategy, but we do not find it worthwhile. No, we don't have a strategy, but we do have social media. Or we don't have a strategy, and neither we do have social media. So we're going to wait for another 40 seconds to keep the polls open and get all your votes in to understand better what do you do in your companies with the digital marketing strategy and if you're pursuing it or not. Then we're going to share the results with Fiona and have a bit of a discussion of what we find from our audience. We'll keep the polls open another 10 seconds and then we'll close them to get the results of your votes. So let's see. We'll be closing the polls. Okay. Very interesting results, Fiona. So 46% do have a strategy and they do find it worthwhile, while 39% do not have a strategy, but they do have social media. And we have just a 14% that do not have a strategy nor social media. So we are on two sides of this question, basically, with our audience today. I leave it up to you.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that nobody has said they've got a digital marketing strategy and don't find it worthwhile. So I think that does actually show that it is a good discipline and it is effective to have a marketing strategy, a digital marketing strategy, which provides that framework and provides you with the means of knowing what are you trying to achieve, what is the best way of achieving it, and how are you going to measure it. Then, of course, yes, as Anke said, we have 39%, nearly 2 out of 5 respondents having social media but with no digital marketing strategy. So possibly it's working, which is great. And then lastly, a small percentage, and that we'll see from the following slide, that makes sense that there are companies that do not do digital or social media. It's possibly not relevant to their audiences. But I think maybe we can go on to that. Is that okay?
Great.
Okay. So let's have a look at the role of digital communication. It is, of course, very important to understand where and how your target audiences source their information digitally, if at all. And this research is quite interesting. It actually shows that digital access continues to grow in emerging economies, and that average usage levels per country, in fact, are linked broadly to per capita GDP. That chart on the left. Having a look at the circles below, we can see about 2/3 of the emerging market population are online, with a high proportion using social media at 53%, so that's just over half. However, linked to that GDP aspect, we see that sub-Saharan Africa, India, and Indonesia have lower internet penetration and usage of smartphones than wealthier emerging market countries. So it is very linked to, of course, with businesses, if you're targeting businesses, especially more established type of businesses and not very, very small micro businesses, they are more likely to be online. But nevertheless, there could be a big segment of business, the business market even, that is not digitally connected, as we saw with possession. Then here we have a look at some statistics on social media. Maintaining a social media presence, don't forget, is very labor intensive, as this medium by its nature is interactive. It requires frequent updates, and trends in social media are towards the growing use of videos and images, so it's a lot of work. If you select social media as a communication channel, choose one at least to start, to lessen the resources required for ongoing postings and interaction. The right one depends on your objectives of using social media, which need to be clarified in the marketing strategy. If the purpose is mainly for interactive and sort of for a human face type of purpose with your target audience, then Facebook is better. The page can be used for news, promotions, posting ads, financial education, and other topics of interest to your customers. The choice of social media for business-to-business purposes is usually between Facebook and LinkedIn. Select Facebook or LinkedIn on the basis of country location of your target audience. Facebook, as you can see on the left, that global map, is particularly popular in the Middle East. Monitor use of your social media communication and adjust according to likes, shares, and commentary. The greater the number of shares, of course, the more the medium becomes a sort of digital word-of-mouth vehicle for your brand, which is very useful, unless, of course, it's negative. Whichever media channels you select, the use of more than one channel is more effective to reinforce your messaging. Here, we look at some examples of using different communication methods. And just to highlight a couple, if we look in the middle there, Santander, which of course is a mega global bank, but nevertheless is useful to look at, they used above-the-line advertising crafted with prospective customers in their entry to the US consumer market, a very difficult market to enter, and they entered it during the recession and banking crisis years of 2010. They had a PR campaign targeting US financial journalists, and that helped to build their reputation of solidity and safety, as well as affordability, all of which were, they had worked out from their research, very important criteria for their target market to switch banks. In another aspect of channels, in targeting the young, growing entrepreneur segment in Latin America, Iberia, and the UK, Santander has started to introduce work cafe branches, half branch, half community space, offering free Wi-Fi, workspace, and coffee shop facilities. Relationship managers are on hand, and self-service banking facilities are also offered. An interactive video wall provides news, economic updates, and Santander advertising and videos. The concept makes use of the branch itself as an inviting place. And then in terms of equity, we can see that they use on-the-ground sales and relationship building, high involvement with business and community associations and activities at the branch level, and word-of-mouth referrals as well. So these are just some examples of using a variety of channels to reinforce your messaging. And lastly, we'll take a brief look at marketing and financial education. Financial education is a critical success factor for target market trial and usage of new or unfamiliar products or banking channels. Incorporating financial education into the marketing and communication plan for new products or features or channels can significantly improve sales and usage levels. For example, if we have a look at that middle picture, Inclusivity Solutions, which is an insurtech company, not a fintech company, but an insurtech company, providing end-to-end insurance product solutions to mobile operators and banks, incorporates financial education as a core part of its marketing strategies to low-income end users in Africa due to the lack of previous exposure to insurance among the end user target markets. They have successfully used a combination of educational roadshows, radio, and SMS texting in their campaigns to create awareness and interest in insurance. Then, of course, we see Possession again on the right hand. They, of course, provide financial education not only through their field workers, but through an academy. And this financial education, which is a prerequisite for taking up loans amongst borrowers, and their improved credit scores and quality loans, is actually used to actively market to the lender side of Possession's online platform. When conducting financial education communication on the benefits of new or unfamiliar products or channels, don't forget, communication needs to be aimed not only at your customers, but also at your staff, especially sales and service staff. Because if an employee doesn't fully understand and buy into how a new offering works or how it could benefit the client, they are unlikely to push the offering to the market. In designing financial education communication campaigns, communication principles in general remain. In other words, target audience and profile definition, knowledge of how to reach them, campaign goals, messages, which in this case would be financial education-based content, and communication channels, more than one ideally, as we've seen. It helps to reinforce messages, as well as evaluation of the outcome. And that is about it.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you for your presentation. Now is the time that we want to get the audience, if they have any questions. Please, you will see a little box that says questions, so please, if you can write up your questions. I am going to ask them to Fiona as they arrive. So please feel free to put up your comments if you have any other questions, or if you want to share a story, please feel free for anything, and we will take them one by one. We already had some questions, so I'm just going to start with the ones that we have already received. So the first question, Fiona, was why didn't you mention the Instagram channel? Are you linking it with Facebook?
No, I didn't mention it because I am looking at business-to-business marketing. And the research indicates that Facebook and LinkedIn are the most effective social media channels to use when one is targeting the business market. And so, yes, there are many different kinds of social media channels, but I do believe because of the resources and time that one needs to devote to social media, and if one is a small or a medium-sized company, one may not have a lot of resources. One needs to actually find the most effective social media channel to engage with the majority of one's target audience. But if in one's particular environment that is the most popular social media channel, by all means. I was just quoting from a more global point of view what are known the most popular, most effective social media channels.
Okay, great. Thank you, Fiona. Next question. In this digital age, what is the most efficient way to carry out a market research?
I do believe that the most efficient way is not necessarily digitally, because that depends on who you are researching, the level of confidentiality, the level of in-depth information that you're trying to find out. And if we are talking about the SME sector, and especially actually if we're talking about the women SME sector, your most effective channels for conducting your research are what you already have available. So, for instance, as we know, the sales force is most SME banking institutions or financial institutions have some form of face-to-face or at least call center-based relationship with their target market, and this is still probably the most effective way because it's ongoing. They have an in-depth knowledge of that target market, and we saw that it's a very affordable way of getting very exact kind of information. But one can supplement it if people are happy to with, for instance, a focus group, and there's no reason why that can't be a Skype online done digitally rather than in a face-to-face method.
Fiona? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought we lost you. I just wanted to make sure that you finalized answering the question.
Yes, yes. There's of course also the database itself, but for actual market research and for questions of the market, I would say rely firstly on your frontline staff.
Great. Thank you, Fiona. We just received another question. I'm not really sure what they're asking, but it's like why there was no mentioning in the digital channels, including mobile or internet banking.
Oh, it was actually in the mobile versus internet. I assume they mean a smartphone versus a sort of big screen device.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not sure. Okay. The reason for that was it's just in the interest of time to actually cover quite a large amount of information generally on marketing effectiveness and building a brand. And it can't all be done digitally. I know there's a lot of interest in digital marketing because it's new, it's a new field for many people and it's changing all the time, etc. But the issue with mobile and versus internet or those sort of devices is it is important, especially for instance when you've got a website or what have you, to ensure that it is user-friendly for both types of devices, to be aware, to know your target audiences, what are they using? Are they using a big screen or are they using a mobile phone, and for what purposes? Because they could be using both for different types of purposes. So all of this, digital marketing, the same principles apply as they apply for any other form of marketing and communication research, is to actually understand that audience profile very, very well. What are they using? Where are they going to source information? How are they doing it? What languages, etc., etc. I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, please feel free. The one who asked the question, please feel free to send another question if this didn't answer. But we have received another question. What is the best way to conduct surveys with our clients? Online surveys prove to have a low conversion rate, where phone calls are more expensive. Should we resort to qualitative survey for a sample only?
Okay. Well, it depends what you are surveying. That is the problem with online surveys. It's like any kind of distance type of direct marketing type of procedure. The response rate is low. So one could, for instance, follow up some of those online surveys. Just get send it out to loads and loads and loads of people, and then follow up telephonically with a few to keep the costs down. Or you could do a qualitative survey. That is a good way, but you won't be able to quantify and to move those to actually extrapolate from that and quantify how, for instance, if you're trying to work out demand for a new product or something, you won't be able to quantify those qualitative survey results. So, or focus group results, because it's too small, the sample. Yeah, and as I keep on mentioning, use your frontline staff. They can do questionnaires for you whilst they're out there in the market, out there visiting people, and then you can compute that data in-house, which can be an affordable way to do it.
Great, thank you, Fiona. We're still have some more time for some more questions, so please feel free to send any other questions that you have. One other question is that if we're just starting on digital marketing, what is the best way to start?
I think the best way to start with digital marketing is to approach it as you would with any other kind of communication channel, and actually start off by saying, let us approach it with a kind of high-level strategy. Let's look at a digital marketing strategy, and let's first of all actually look at the business case for digital marketing. Is it actually worth our while? So start off by, obviously you know who your target market is, your target audience is. Find out what they are doing digitally, because really the thing about digital marketing or any other kind of marketing, but the reason digital marketing is becoming so big and everyone's so worried about it or enthralled with it or what have you, is because the markets are going there. They're starting to use digital media. And where your markets are, that's where you as a marketer need to be. So it's very important to understand what your target markets are using digital media for. Which digital media, for what purpose, what kind of level. And so I would recommend the first thing you do is actually do some research to quantify it and to just do a business case, and then actually also have take into account what resources would you need for this? And what would you be trying to achieve with digital marketing? It would need to be a supplementary channel to other channels that you're using, for instance, your relationship managers or what have you. But that would be my advice.
Thank you, Fiona. As the timing is ticking, I'll have one more question. And it's, should the content on social media be directly related to our products? Because at some point, it becomes redundant as we keep pushing the same product. And we are a financial institution, and thus content is not always new.
Okay, I would first of all evaluate reactions if product has been put on I think you're talking about Facebook page. So it's, if there's some kind of interactive element to it, you're doing a promotion for a product or a competition, or any kind of interactive aspect in terms of your products, that's maybe a good thing. But of course, only if your target audience use your Facebook page as a source of information about that type of thing on products. Have a look at your competitors and what they're doing on Facebook. Have a look and see what is actually effective out in your market, not necessarily only financial products, but other kinds of companies that do durables. It could be motor vehicle companies or manufacturing companies, etc., computer companies. So see what is going on in the environment and how Facebook is being used, and get reactions from your audience. Actually ask them what they would like to see on Facebook.
Great. Thank you very much, Fiona. As we are running out of time for more questions, I just want to tell all the attendees that they could just, if they have more questions or comments or anything, please feel free to just contact us. You have our contact details, and we will also post all the questions that we receive after this on our LinkedIn pages. I also just wanted to share one comment that we received from the audience about the online surveys. And I felt it is a really good point, so I just wanted to share it with everyone. Online surveys are effective when the questions are interesting, short, and they will increase the response rate. It's better to have a 4-question survey today with a better response rate than having a 15 questions in a single survey. So just wanted to share this. I felt it's an interesting point, maybe from experience from one of our attendees. So, do you have anything to add, Fiona, on this?
No, just as mentioned, when you are doing more qualitative, in-depth stuff with your business market, yes, it isn't at all appropriate online. It's hard to get responses. Even if your questions are interesting and short, I don't think you can actually get the level of response rate that you would if you were engaging face-to-face, telephonically, etc. It's just one of those things. But absolutely, if it's short and interesting, you're more likely to get a higher response rate.
Yeah.
And why not then?
Just try it out. Great. Thank you very much for everyone that attended this first webinar for 2019. We're very excited to have more upcoming webinars, and we hope to have you in our upcoming webinars also. Thank you, Fiona, for being here with us and for this wonderful presentation. It's been a pleasure.